It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13.
Probably the most famous opening line in all of 20th century literature.
It is, from George Orwell's 1984. And for generations, we've read that line as, a prophecy of this gray, unavoidable misery.
Absolutely. We pictured concrete bunkers, the smell of bad cabbage, maybe forced labor.
The boot stamping on a human face. Forever. We were completely focused on the misery of it all.
And that's where we may have missed the point.
I think we did. For this deep dive, we wanted to analyze why. Why did we miss Orwell's central warning? We were so busy looking for a cage that, well, we didn't notice we'd willingly walked into a casino.
A very brightly lit, very distracting casino.
Exactly. The mission today is to figure out how the ultimate control wasn't built on fear, but on just absolute frictionless convenience. I mean, it's 2026. You're probably listening to this on a device that tracks your location, your heart rate, your finances.
Everything. It's a perfect record of your life.
And if you're really honest, you probably feel this strange, almost chemical rage every time you pick it up to scroll. So the thesis we're exploring is this. We didn't get the dungeons of Oceania. We got one-day shipping, infinite scrolling, and a surveillance state so convenient we actually pay a monthly subscription for it.
That is the core difference. Orwell's surveillance was meant to create terror. It was imposed.
Yes.
What we've built is a system that's invited. We ask for it.
So let's start with the most iconic piece of tech from the book, the telescreen.
Right. Orwell described it as an oblong metal plaque. It was always on, always receiving, always transmitting. The terror for Winston Smith was that he never knew for sure when the thought police were watching.
Which created this state of constant anxiety.
Perpetual self-censorship, yeah.
But the modern version completely flips that. The original was government property bolted to your wall.
You had no choice.
Today, the telescreen is a luxury consumer good. We buy it, we charge it, we put it in our pockets, or we install it on our own front door.
You're talking about things like the Amazon Ring camera.
That's the perfect example. After years of pressure, Amazon announced in early 2024 that they'd stop letting police just ask for footage from their neighbor's app.
Which sounded like a huge win for privacy on the surface.
It did, but the devil is always in the fine print, isn't it?
Always. While they stopped those casual requests, Amazon kept the right to share your private footage without a warrant in what they call emergency scenarios.
An emergency is a pretty broad term.
Very broad. So what really changed wasn't the surveillance infrastructure, but just who holds the keys. This whole model shifts the work, the collection, the storage onto the private sector.
Okay, so if I'm getting this right, the private sector is the collection arm, and the state becomes the processing arm.
Precisely. It's a partnership. Corporations do the messy work of gathering data, and the government could just access the results.
And that partnership has a legal framework to back it up.
It does. Which brings us to Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA. The U.S. government just reauthorized it in April 2024.
That sounds incredibly dry, but what does it actually do? Why should we care?
Well, it lets the NSA warrantlessly sweep up digital communications, your texts, your emails, as long as the target is a foreigner overseas.
But what happens when Americans are talking to those foreigners? Or even other Americans?
That's the loophole. They call it incidental collection. In casting this huge digital net, they inevitably scoop up the private conversations of millions of Americans who aren't the target at all.
So that's the real mechanism. We've gone from Winston Smith hiding in a little alcove to write in a physical diary.
Yeah.
To us, where our diary is our search history, our DMs, and it's all saved forever in a cloud.
And it's permanently accessible. There is no alcove anymore. There's no place to hide a thought that isn't digitally recorded and analyzed.
That's a terrifying thought. So let's move from the physical surveillance to the ideological kind. The control of thought itself.
The Ministry of Truth?
And its three famous slogans. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength.
Paradox is designed to break the mind.
And the tool they used was Newspeak, a language designed not to expand thought, but to shrink it, to make heresy impossible because the words for it just didn't exist anymore.
And in the America of 2025, we see this has become a very real, very effective, and importantly, a bipartisan weapon.
It's used everywhere.
It is. It's about shutting down conversation by reframing reality. You can see it across the entire political spectrum.
Give us an example.
Well, From one side, you see the redefinition of core terms. Take a word like racism or gender. They're often used now in a way where the word itself is presented as an act of violence.
Not just a disagreement or an idea.
No, actual violence. It collapses all the nuance of, say, systemic issues versus individual prejudice into one word you can't challenge.
And the switch from equality to equity is a key piece of that. They sound similar, but they often mean the opposite.
Exactly. Equality is about equal opportunity. Equity is often used to mean forcing equal outcomes. It's a subtle but profound shift.
And you're saying this is mirrored on the other side.
Oh, absolutely. Think of phrases like alternative facts or the weaponization of government. These terms are designed to discredit objective reality or accountability before an investigation can even start.
So you poison the well.
You poison
the well.
You poison the well. If you can call a fact alternative or an institution weaponized, you've already shrunk the field of acceptable thought. You've made it harder to hold power to account.
So if controlling language is the first step, the next is forcing those internal contradictions, what Orwell called doublethink. You argue the biggest one today is economic.
Yes, the doublethink economy. It's the psychological stress of having to believe two opposite things about your own money at the same time.
Okay, break that down.
The official narrative from the government, from a lot of media, is the economy is strong, inflation is cooling, and they have GDP numbers to back that up.
Right.
But your lived reality, what you experience buying groceries or paying rent, tells a totally different story. Inflation may have slowed down, but the price of bread hasn't actually dropped.
It just stopped going up as fast.
Right, so you're being told you are prosperous,
Yeah.
but your bank account is telling you, I can barely afford my life.
That's a huge psychological gap to live in.
It creates massive cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
And when you force people to choose between the official numbers and their own eyes, they start to doubt their own perception of reality.
And a population that can't trust its own senses is easier to control.
Infinitely. The foundation for critical thought is just gone.
Okay, so that's an internal control. Let's talk about the emotional one. The most famous scene in 1984 for me is the 2 minutes hate.
That mandatory daily ritual.
Oh, yeah, where everyone channels all their fear and frustration away from the party and onto a scapegoat, Emmanuel Goldstein. It's like a pressure release valve.
A very profitable one for the party.
And the modern version, I mean, it's happening on your phone right now. Open X, open TikTok. You're not seeing a random feed. You're seeing something meticulously engineered to provoke a chemical outrage response.
And we have the data on this. It is not an accident. It is the design. Study after study from the last few years confirms it. Content that triggers moral outrage spreads, up to 20 times faster than neutral or positive content?
20 times.
The algorithm pushes fury. Because fury is engagement, and engagement is profit.
So describe the ritual. How does it work today?
Every day, sometimes every hour, the algorithm selects a new main character, a new Goldstein.
Right, it could be anyone. Someone with a bad take on dating, a minor politician who made a gaffe.
An anonymous person who said something dumb. The tribe is then given its target, and the ritual of destruction begins through quote tweets, pile-ons, and attacks on their real life, their job.
It's a collective sanctioned demolition of a person.
And that is the modern 2 minutes hate. It conditions us to see anyone outside our little tribe as a traitor, to be purged. Communal anger has become the most reliable business model in history.
So when you add all this up, the surveillance, the language control, the engineered rage, what does it mean? Orwell wasn't a psychic. He was a pattern recognizer.
A brilliant one. And 3 of his darkest predictions, I think, have now fully crystallized in our systems.
Yeah. What's the first one?
The mutability of the past. The party slogan was, "Who controls the past controls the future." Today, we see digital articles stealth-edited with no correction notice.
So a story can change after it's published.
It can change, and the original version just vanishes. We also see search engines filtering results based on political bias. History is no longer written in ink, it's written in code, and code can be deleted.
Making objective truth feel disposable. What's the second warning?
Pre-crime or thought crime. Orwell imagined police arresting you for what you thought. We don't have that, not exactly, but we have debanking.
Explain that.
That's when financial institutions close your bank account because of your political speech or what they call reputational risk.
So if a corporation doesn't like your opinions, they can cut off your access to your own money.
Exactly. When your ability to buy food or pay your mortgage depends on conforming to corporate values, you're living in a kind of soft totalitarianism. The fear isn't that the government will read your diary. It's that the bank will.
But the final prediction is the one that really gets me. It's the one that forces us all to look in the mirror. It's the most terrifying one, the love of servitude. Orwell didn't just say we'd be tracked. He predicted we would defend the very companies that track us. We'd attack the whistleblowers.
We learn to love Big Brother.
We learn to love him because he doesn't just oppress us. He gives us free 2-day shipping. He gives us personalized playlists and those little dopamine hits from our phones. Convenience is the ultimate anesthetic.
And that's the central tragedy. Trading vigilance for instant gratification. Winston Smith was finally broken when he realized he genuinely loved Big Brother. His defeat wasn't about torture. It was about acceptance.
But that's where our story is different. We are not characters in a book that's already finished. We're writing the next chapter. And the rebellion isn't what you might think. It isn't loud or violent. It's quiet.
It has to be.
The modern telescreen only works if you keep it charged and in your pocket. The rebellion starts with putting it down.
And if the 2 minutes hate is the world's most profitable business model,
then the rebellion is refusing to participate. It's silence, refusing to feed the outrage machine.
And if Newspeak is meant to shrink your thoughts,
then the rebellion is defending the real meaning of words, rigorously.
It's about withdrawing consent.
That's it. The ultimate rebellion in 2026 isn't some grand gesture. It's digital privacy. It's the ability to sit alone in a room with a paper book and think a thought that is entirely your own, unmonetized, unmediated, and unweaponized by an algorithm. Start there.